Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and from Indeed, designed to be an end-to-end hiring solution for businesses of all sizes to attract, interview, and hire candidates, all from one platform. Learn more at Indeed.com/NPR.
This week on This American Life, a few years back, Republicans and Democrats in Ohio did something you never see. They came together, passed 2 constitutional amendments to end gerrymandering in the state. But then, the same Republican leadership that did that drew the maps for this year's election. And they're gerrymandered, unconstitutional. But they're still going to...
The 2 p.m. session of Roanoke City Council for Monday, November the 11th? 7th. I'm sorry. Too many dates up here. November the 7th.
I'll be celebrating my
Is hereby called to order, and I'll ask our clerk, Ms. Susan McCord, to please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Here.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Here.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Here.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Here.
Mr. Cobb?
Here.
Ms. Moon Reynolds is absent today, and Mayor Lee.
Here. And a quorum is present. Thank you. I will first begin by welcoming, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, but the Reverend Terry Kemp, children's pastor of First Children's Church of God. Is Reverend Kemp here? All right. Thank you, Reverend. I appreciate you coming down. You will lead us in our invocation. And following the invocation, I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd ask everybody to stand, please, as Reverend Kemp comes.
Members of council, attendees, let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for this beautiful fall day and for your many blessings and your abundant goodness you bestow upon us. We thank you for the opportunity to serve this city and this community with talents and abilities you have given each of us for your glory. We ask for your anointing on each member of this council and all our city leaders in their endeavors to represent the citizens of this city with godly inspired wisdom and vision for your will to be done. Let us respectfully acknowledge the viewpoints shared today by each attendee so that we are not divided by our differences, but united in our mutual pursuit of accomplishment. We pray for your divine inspiration for decisions made in this chamber today, and also for your will to be done in the upcoming elections for all candidates involved. Keep your protective hand over our city and lead us into even greater achievements in the future. Let each of us approach our daily responsibilities with integrity, a desire for excellence, and a spirit of cooperation. May the Holy Spirit lead us to even greater accomplishments for the city of Roanoke as we continue to be a leading example of progress and community collaboration in our ongoing efforts to benefit the citizens of this great city for years to come. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend. All right, let me welcome everybody here this afternoon for our second session. We met this morning for some briefings at 9 a.m. Council meetings will be televised live and replayed on RVTV Channel 3 on Thursdays at 7 o'clock p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and video streamed through Facebook Live at facebook.com/Roanoke VA. Council meetings are offered with closed captioning for the deaf or hard of hearing. And thank you all for the attendance today. At this time, item number 2 on our agenda is for us to make some presentations and acknowledgments, and I will come down to the lower podium to do that. And I'm going to ask Mr. Jeffrey Powell. Is he here today? I can't believe he's not here on Alpha File today. That's not like Alpha Man. All right, well, yeah, if you're not here on time, you lose your position. So I'm gonna go right back to some special presentations that we're going to make. And I wanna ask Susan Lauer, Director of Real Estate Valuation, Pat Lamb, and Tom Hubbard to join me at the podium. Come on up. These are some outstanding people. Good to see you. Good to see you. It's always good to see you here. I want to recognize both Pat and Tom for their great work and length of work with our department here, and I'm so pleased to be able to recognize you. And I'm going to recognize you first, Pat. Thank you. Pat Lamb was born to be in real estate business. Oh, her attention to detail and compassion with citizens goes beyond measure. She holds down 2 jobs at a youthful 80 years old and still loves what she does for the city. I think we ought to give her a hand for that. Just like that. She is the tax compliance specialist for the Commissioner of the Revenue. She handles applicants for all veterans, elderly, and disabled citizens. She has been doing this for over 12 years, and they know her by name and will not talk to anyone else in the office. She works closely with real estate evaluation and also handles walk-ins and phones on all real estate matters for the Commissioner of the Revenue. Her second job is the administration clerk for the Board of Equalization. This is a part-time job on weekends and after hours. She was appointed by Judge Ballou in 1982 and has been serving as citizens on real estate assessment appeals for 40 years. She worked for Judge Weckstein, Judge Broadhurst, and Judge Carson. She has worked with many property owners, attorneys, and tax reps all over the country. She has prepared documents for the attorneys and judges on appeals and court cases contesting real estate assessments. And that can be strenuous in itself, which is great. When she is not working, you will find her and her husband, Bill, at family gatherings with their kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. City Council would like to recognize Pat for her outstanding 40-year commitment serving on the Board of Equalization. We wish her well in her retirement, and I want to present her with this star, Patricia Ham. And we want to thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to make it clear, I'm not leaving the city of Roanoke. I'm giving up the Board of Equalization.
Thank you so much.
Let's be clear.
Get my camera. No photo op. Yeah. Right over there. Thank you. Next we have Tom Hubbard. Tom has been the Senior Vice President with Poe & Quonk since the firm started in 1987, specializing in sales and leases of offices and retail site selection, land and investment property, covering Western Virginia and the Roanoke and New River Valley. Tom began his real estate career in the trust department of Colonial American Bank. He was responsible for overseeing all aspects of the management and disposal of trust real properties. He served as the Veterans Administration broker, managing all the foreclosed properties until they were sold. Tom was appointed by Judge Weckstein to the Board of Equalization in 2005. He has served as either the chairman or the secretary of the board for 17 years. Tom meets with property owners on reassessments, appeals, and makes sure all the property values are fair and equitable throughout the city. Tom is a long-term resident of the city, and when he is not working real estate deals in Roanoke City, he is fly fishing in Montana, catching large trout. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. City Council really would like to recognize Tom for his outstanding 17-year commitment serving on the Board of Equalization. We wish him well in his retirement. Let's give Tom a hand. Now, Ms. Lauer, you can come and say a few words if you want.
I yelled too much at Virginia Tech and Tennessee football game this weekend, so I've lost my voice. But I would like to say I have so enjoyed for, all these years, 40 years with Pat and 17 years with Tom. They do an excellent job, and it is a tough job. It's great for our citizens to have an unbiased opinion. We work for the city, and sometimes they would just rather skip us and go straight to those guys. And, we just are so appreciate what they do. And as a city, we are so lucky to have qualified people on our Board of Equalization. So I am going to miss them tremendously. And also would like Randy and Rutledge to stand. They are here. They worked with Pat back in the day. And it's a great, they're former BOE members, so it's just a great family. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Susan, for all the work you do and assessments. Okay, now I'm going to ask Mr. Jeffrey Powell if he would come up. Jeffrey, we losing all the spectators, ain't we?
That's all right. We branded in our heart.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, council, my colleagues on council, this is Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated Week. Whereas Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the first intercollegiate Greek letter fraternity established for African Americans men, was founded on December 6, 1906 at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York by George Biddle Kelly, Nathaniel Allison Murray, Robert Harold Oakley, Charles Henry Chapman, Eugene Kinkle Jones, Henry Arthur Callis, and Vertner Woodson Tandy, known as the Jewels, who recognized the need for a strong bond of brotherhood among African descendants in this country. Whereas the objectives of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated shall be to stimulate the ambition of its members, to prepare them for greatest usefulness in the causes of humanity, freedom and dignity of the individual, to encourage the highest and noblest form of manhood, and to aid downtrodden humanity in its efforts to achieve higher social and economic status. Whereas the 80th Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated Convention develops leaders, promotes brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy for our communities. Whereas the district is continuing to grow and build eminent goodwill in the communities we serve, this year's theme is one fraternity, one district, one brotherhood, to sympathize and sustain a legacy of excellence And whereas Alpha Kappa Lambda, Gamma Nu Lambda, Delta Nu Lambda, Theta Iota, Sigma Phi, and Phi Zeta will serve as the host chapters for the 80th annual convention, and is the first time the convention will be held in the city of Roanoke. Now, therefore, I, Sherman P. Lee Sr., who's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, Mayor of the city of Roanoke, Virginia, do proclaim the week of November 6th through the 12th, 2022, as Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. This is our week in recognition of the 80th State Convention, and I want to present this proclamation to Brother Jeffrey Powell, who will come and have some words to say.
Thank you, Brother Lee. On behalf of Fred Russell, State President, we appreciate this. We want to thank Clarence, the city manager, the sheriff. Also want to thank Chief Roman and his team for the participation and for the activities. This is the first time we've ever brought this here. Also, I want to recognize David Collins, whose father was a member of this fraternity, and I remember him well as a child. So this chapter, Alpha Kappa Lambda, has meant a lot to me and my family going back to 1954. So to have this conference here is a legacy to the city of Roanoke and also to the Alphas that have come before us. So we welcome and look forward to seeing you all on Friday night at the President's reception. Thank you very much. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. AKA. Okay, thank you all for that. Thank you both. I'd like to just, as a member of Alpha, thank the two sororities, the two that'll be working with us this week that I'm for, Delta Sigma Theta. And Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Thank you, my soul.
All right.
You got one and one.
All right. All right, we're down now to our consent agenda. And all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the members of City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of the items. If discussion is desired, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. I need a motion on the consent agenda.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye. And thank you, the consent agenda is passed. All right, we now move down to our regular agenda item. But before I do that, I want to recognize someone that's special to us and someone that you'll be probably talking to with a lot. And I want to ask the new executive administrative and assistant to the mayor, who will probably answer the phone most of the time when you call my office. I want to ask Windsor Nevitt if she could stand. That's the person you'll be contacting. Winda, welcome. You started for us. Yeah. All right, on our regular agenda, public hearings, we have none. And we're going to do petitions and communications. A communication from Vice Mayor Trish Whiteboard, Chairman of the City Council Personnel Committee, advising of the expiration of the 2-year terms of office of the city clerk, city attorney, and municipal auditor ended September 30th, 2022. All right, our personnel chair recommends the council's concurrence on the reappointment of 3 council-appointed officers for 2-year terms of office, each ending on September 30th, 2024. So I need a motion from council to,
So
okay.
Second.
All right, we're gonna have a voice vote. All in favor of these 3 council-appointed staff members, please let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, the motion passes. So you all are guaranteed to be with us. Our clerk, our city attorney, and our municipal auditor. We welcome you aboard and look forward to working with you for the next 2 years. Okay. All right, we're now down to the hearing of citizens on public matters. At this time, I'm going to ask the Madam Clerk, have we received any inquiries or speakers?
we have 2 speakers that have signed up. The first is Kamia Hashimzada. Okay, she's not here. And Stephen Niamki. Okay, you don't have either. That's all.
All right. Neither of the speakers are here.
No.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 7, which is the reports of city officers and comments of the city manager. And again, I want to recognize Clarence Greer, who's sitting in for Mr. Cal today, our deputy city manager, and also recognize Mr. David Collins, who's sitting in for our city attorney, Tim Spencer. Thank you both. All right, I'm going to call on Mr. Greer to introduce the briefings that we have today.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of City Council. This afternoon for the Gun Violence Prevention Framework briefing, we have the monthly briefing from the Police Department. Chief Sam Roman is here, and then we'll have an update from the Gun Violence Convention headed by Council Member Joe Cobb.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, Chief.
It is good to be here again with you. As in usual form, I'll just give you an update, sort of in the same format that I always do every month. So I'll start off with firearms. Everything I'll cover is between October 1st and October 31st. Obviously, we do this on a monthly basis. During the month of October, there were 31 firearms seized. A total year to date is 316 firearms. This month, the month of October, we served 208 felony warrants, 413 misdemeanor warrants. And in regards to incidents involving gunfire in which someone was hit by a bullet, on October 1st, 2022, our officers responded to the 800 block of Ferdinand Avenue Southwest in reference to a person with a gunshot wound. Upon arrival, our officers located an adult female with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. The victim was then transported to the hospital. Officers were able to quickly identify an adult male who was the suspect. The offender, Mr. Bert Burnham, 24 of Roanoke, was taken into custody a short time later. On October the 10th, 2022, officers responded to the 1600 block of Grayson Avenue Northwest in reference to an additional person with a gunshot wound. Upon arrival, they also located a male victim who was suffering from what appeared to be a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. The victim was also transported to the hospital. Due to lack of evidence in this instance and victim cooperation, this investigation is inactive at this time. On October the 26th, 2022, officers responded to the 1600 block of Syracuse Avenue Northwest in reference to a person with a gunshot wound. Upon arrival, our officers found an adult male who was suffering from what appeared to be a very serious gunshot wound. The only thing that I can add to that is that this investigation is still ongoing. On October 28th, 2022, officers responded to the 900 block of Marshall Avenue Southwest regarding reports of a person with a serious gunshot wound. Responding officers located that male victim lying on the front porch of his residence with what appeared to be obviously a very critical gunshot wound. Roanoke Fire EMS pronounced the gentleman deceased on the scene. Witnesses quickly advised that the suspect of the shooting was still inside the residence in which the officers responded to and had barricaded himself in the attic. After a brief standoff in which our crisis negotiators were able to communicate with the 29-year-old Anthony Hall, he ultimately surrendered. Hall was taken into custody without further incident and charged with second-degree murder, and this investigation also is ongoing. In the way of prosecutions and court proceedings, on October 5th, Todd Manns was found guilty by a jury of his peers regarding the May 2021 murder of Tanico Belt. Mr. Manns was found guilty of first-degree murder and use of a firearm and commission of a felony. He will be sentenced at a later date. On October the 17th, DeMarcus S. Glenn was sentenced to 12 years in prison on a federal gun charge. Mr. Glenn pled guilty to one count of discharging a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime back in July of 2022. These charges stemmed from the May 2019 murder of a 16-year-old Mr. Tyler Palumbo. Glenn was acquitted, if you recall, Mr. Glenn was acquitted of charges related to the murder of Mr. Palumbo after claiming self-defense, but testified during the trial that he had carried a firearm and used it to shoot Mr. Palumbo during a drug transaction. Obviously, this fell under a federal law which prohibits drug dealers from possessing, brandishing, and discharging a firearm in furtherance of a drug crime. Lastly, in late October, you may recall we arrested Mr. DeMarco Jackson, 23, of Roanoke, and charged him with first-degree murder, use of a firearm, and commission of a felony regarding the death of 15-year-old Demario Sanders. On September 24th, Mr. Jackson was located in Houston, Texas, and taken into custody by the U.S. Marshal Service. Our detectives subsequently flew to Texas and retrieved Mr. Jackson and brought him back to Roanoke, where he was formally charged and currently awaiting trial. In the way of reset deployments for the month of October 2022, our reset team deployed 4 times to areas because of gunshot wounds, also the officer-involved shooting that we had as well, and an additional time due to hotspot mapping. We averaged 5 volunteers each time we went out. That is the gun violence update, and with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, members of council? All right, no questions. Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, and please extend our gratitude to the department for your ongoing work on all of this. At this time, I'm going to introduce 2 of our grant recipients, one that received a violence interruption grant and the second that received a mini grant. I'd like to first introduce Catherine Cable, who's the coordinator of our Groceries Not Guns initiative. Alongside her is Dr. Brenda Hale, president of the NAACP, a partner agency in this effort, and Dr. Mike Heller, who is with the Religious Society of Friends, also a partner agency. So, yeah, you all can come up.
All right. So do we, well, we've been introduced, so you know who we are. And we are the three amigos of Groceries Not Guns. So our 2022 report, just to give a very brief overview of our program, we give out $250 in gift cards, grocery gift cards specifically, for a semi-automatic handgun, $150 in grocery gift cards for either a rifle, shotgun, or revolver. We limited it this year to 2 guns per household and Virginia residents only. We also said no federally licensed firearm dealers allowed. So here's the very quick, brief summary. We had 151 guns this summer collected to be destroyed, 62 semi-automatic handguns. That was almost twice what we got last year in terms of semi-automatic handguns. And then there were 83 rifles, shotguns, and revolvers, and 6 donated guns. So leading us back to the total of 151. And we just so thank our partners, the Roanoke Police Department, their property room experts, and their ATF experts. They are all just excellent, unbelievable partners. And they're the ones who take these photos, not us. So we had 28,000 in grocery gift cards distributed this summer. So that's 2 times last year. We collected from the grant, we used 20,000 in grant funds, and we received from the general public, from which we are incredibly grateful, $23,000 in donations. 100 gun locks were distributed in partnership with Carilion Clinic at the event. So, and we always really want to emphasize how wonderful our partners have been on the gun lock issue. It's just incredible because many people do walk away from our events still owning guns. Many people walk away not owning any guns. But for those who do, we love to have those gun locks there because this is about safety. It's not about, any sort of constitutional issue. The reasons for participation. So we do a survey of our participants, and we had our volunteers were amazing in getting almost everyone who participated in our event filled out one of these surveys. And one woman, when I read this, just touched my heart. She said what she wrote in the reasons for participation area was, husband has Alzheimer's and wanted us both to be safe at home. So that really touched me. This was an older woman, and many people tell us all the time, oh, well, your program doesn't do anything because it's serving older folks. Well, here we are. We're serving an older folk, and we're serving an older woman and an older man, and what are we doing here? We're really making them feel safer in a meaningful way. A lot of folks said just didn't need it. Need the cash, and reviews on it has nothing good to say. I will say there are some guns out there that really have a history of exploding in your hand, misfiring. Like, by all means, we want to buy those from you. Like, we do not want those guns out in the community. Wasn't using for home defense, no need to have in the home. We love to have those folks too. Reasons for participating, and folks are allowed to write down more than one, so the pie chart, sort of gives you an idea, but many people do pick more than one reason. So gift card was worth more than the gun. My home will be safer without guns. This was a safe and ethical disposal method of unwanted guns, but I do have other guns. So we're just kind of interested in finding out from people like what sort of things are going on with them. And we love this day because gun owners, people who walk away not being gun owners anymore, everyone has a really happy, come together, celebratory day. One other thing that we wanted to highlight is that the majority of gun deaths in Roanoke City, this might not be well publicized, are actually gun suicides. So if you look over the decade 2011 to 2020, we had 99 gun suicides, and this is just in the city of Roanoke. We had 76 gun homicides and 5 unintentional, undetermined gun deaths. Gun suicides in Roanoke City are impacting all age groups. So we see very young, if you look at this column, 15 to 24 years, we lost 14 folks in this category over the 2011 to 2020 time span. 25 to 34 years, 45, actually, in some ways, I would say that if you look at other localities like Roanoke County, our gun deaths on gun suicide actually skew younger than theirs. They have very similar numbers on gun suicide, but their gun deaths on gun suicide do skew a little older. We see a lot of news reports about the gun homicides and gun assaults, but we see very few of these reports on gun suicide, basically almost no reports on gun suicide in the media. And what ends up happening is that this turns it into a very black and white issue when it really doesn't need to be. We know that many of our gun suicide victims are white. And the perception that, whiter households that are white are not suffering from gun deaths is incorrect. And so one thing that we like about our program is that we are serving both ends of, we're serving everyone in the city, and I'll go through that very quick. So a few myths about groceries, not guns. Our program accepts broken guns. I've heard this out in the community. Absolutely not true. We do not accept, obviously, broken firearms. Now, we are not live firing them to see how they work right before we take them. So that's actually, well, there is actually, I won't get into it, but the police make sure they're safe, and sometimes that it does involve firing around if they have one in the chamber, which we highly discourage them bringing one in the chamber to us, but they do that in a very safe way. Once again, our partners at the police department are excellent on the safety part. So we don't purchase broken guns. Participants are the wrong demographic. We've gone through the demographic numbers on gun suicides. We've shown that gun violence impacts all demographics in Roanoke when we include gun suicides. So we also have the reality that we had an 8-fold increase in our 18 to 39-year-old participants in 2022, including 9 participants in the 18 to 29-year-old category. Participants are majority white, but we had 5 times more black participants, 8 times more minority participants than the previous year. So minority participation overall was 17.6%, and when we look at Roanoke itself, we know that I had this in the I think it's about 38% minority population in Roanoke, if I'm remembering correctly. So we're getting much closer to that number every year. 20% of participants have an annual household income of $20,000 or less. So if you think an annual household income of $20,000 or less is well off, well, I guess we are serving only rich folks, but I don't believe we are. The majority of our participants make a household income of less than $40,000 per year, so that's under the median in Roanoke City. Our conclusions: the demand in the community indicates the program is needed and desired. Demographics and self-reported motivation indicate that groceries, not guns prevents suicides. Last year we had a young man who said to us he was just not in the right headspace and he didn't want the gun anymore. I said, happy to help. And also, here's some grocery money. Guns from lower income participants are a good indication that we are diverting guns from the more dangerous and difficult to regulate secondary market. So we're preventing gun assaults and homicides, but it's several orders removed from like the dangerous transaction, right? We're stopping it a couple notches upstream. We're giving people an ethical way to dispose of unwanted firearms, as opposed to having them stolen out of their home or some other means. The increase in minority participation indicates minority outreach and trust establishment are making progress and need to continue. Our essential partners: Roanoke Quaker Meeting, Roanoke City Police Department, Roanoke City Gun Violence Commission, and of course, the Roanoke NAACP. These partnerships, we have other partnerships in terms of advertising, and the city has been incredibly generous and come together so wonderfully on this program. And we look forward to suggestions for the future and feedback. With that, I will hand it off to some of my.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm representing the Roanoke Quaker Meeting, and I think our program is important because it's setting something in motion, and we don't know the end results of this. It's one program among many, and I think we're sending a message through these programs that we're trying to do something about gun violence, and I expect that that's going to pay off in the long run. One of the statements that we support, and we believe research supports this, is that communities with fewer guns have less gun violence, and homes with no guns are safer. And research supports that. Well, I probably don't need to say more, but it goes against our popular culture, goes against intuition. A house with no guns is actually safer than a house with guns. It's really an honor for the Quaker meeting to work with the NAACP and Groceries Not Guns and the city of Roanoke. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are truly appreciative having the team. It takes a team effort to get this big mission accomplished. We're so thankful for Dr. Catherine with Groceries Not Guns, and also an executive committee member of the Roanoke branch in AACP. And I had the wisdom to appoint her as the chair of Groceries Not Guns. Also with Dr. Heller, who is an executive committee member of the Roanoke branch in AACP. And we thank him for his leadership with the Friends, the Quakers, because we couldn't have done this without the 501c3 that he represents. We also thank Councilman Joe Cobb for his leadership in guiding us through this process and being there, making a difference. We thank the City Council for the grants appropriation. It made a big difference this year. And I stand here to tell you that our mission is not finished. Every year it can be seen and documented that we're making a difference. Also, we are in an epidemic of gun violence in Roanoke, Virginia. Not only do we have to fight COVID, we also have to fight this epidemic of violence. I stand here to declare to the community, it is a community problem. We have individuals that we can do what we can do within our realm, but it's going to take the whole community, each and every individual doing whatever they can do. Because if we don't have the support of the community doing this, stepping in, being aggressive in your decisions, trying to save your youngsters in your home, in the school system. Dr. King dreamed of the beloved community. We can get there, but it's going to take everybody working on this. As a registered nurse, it pains me every time there is a news story and another death has occurred prematurely by gun violence. We must cease this behavior. We must pour into our youth, and we must give a solid message. There is another way. Education is the way up and out of poverty. Poverty pays a great deal when it comes to violence. It really is, and that's well documented as well. At the Roanoke branch, if you know anything of NAACP, it was conceived as a multi-diverse organization. Therefore, we approach everything in that manner. So, folks, we got to do something about the suicide rate also. Because don't think our young people are exempt from that. More and more youngsters in our community are talking about ending it because of the so many reasons. The environment that they live in, the gang pressure, the peer pressure. We must attack this epidemic. We're doing pretty good with COVID, but we have to do a whole lot better when it comes to gun violence in the Star City of the South, this 7-time All-American city. Okay, so thank you for the many opportunities that you have given us, and we look forward. And don't be surprised, we're going to double what we did this year, next year, because I have some more surprises.
Of course you do.
Thank y'all so very much.
Thank you.
Any members of council have any questions they want to direct to the panel? All right, I'll go to you first, and I'll come to Ms. Pike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dr. Heller, Dr. Hale, Dr. Colby-Stromberg, you guys are doing some amazing things. I really appreciate everything that you all are doing. And I particularly want to say to you, Dr. Hale, a few weeks ago, we had some visitors in town. You know, we had a round table with AG Mayorez and former Governor George Allen, whole bunch of folks. I mean, the room was full. And you know, mentioned the program that we're doing here, Groceries Not Guns. And he, you know, he kind of dismissed it, but here is proof. And I'm glad you stood up and you said something, because that's a prime example of someone out of the community who is not here in our community, who does not know what we're doing and what has been accomplished already by what we're doing here. And I mean, I didn't agree with a whole lot that they said that particular day, but I really didn't agree with that aspect of our conversation, because I see here, and we all see, proof of what has happened and the guns that you've collected. So I just want to say thank you for standing back up and saying, no, I disagree with you on that. We are making a difference with Groceries Not Guns. Just because it hadn't worked for whoever he was referring to, I don't even know if he had any evidence of that, but I didn't like the fact that he said that when we clearly have evidence that it is working here for us. And you're right, there is more to be done. We have a lot more to do, but what you're doing is making a difference, and I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. We really appreciate that. And, you know, if we don't stand up and say what is really happening here in Roanoke, because it is documented, we were the first community in the state of Virginia to have a gun buyback. And it took 5 years of dreaming this, and dreams can become reality. All you have to do is put all the right things together and bring it to fruition. And thank you for being there, and I'll stand up to anybody.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Well, yes, thank you. And I just want to reemphasize what Vice Mayor just said. Thank you, all three of you, the three amigos. I love that. Because you are such a prime example of a community solution to something that is ongoing, and unfortunately, yes, it's epidemic across the nation. But here is a prime example of why it takes a village to address these kinds of issues that are happening right here at home in our Star City. I especially wanted to emphasize that you pointed out the realities of the myths that people are circulating. You know, that's what people do. If they can't say something nice, they're gonna throw stones at it and try to tear it down, and we know better. We don't listen to that kind of nonsense. But thank you for putting that in writing so that the community will understand that, yes, there may be some swirling around about these myths, but here is the reality and the documentation of what this program is actually able to accomplish. So I just want to commend you and thank you again. And what you said too, Brenda, about, the suicide rates increasing, especially amongst our youth. Here again, we've got community answers looking at the fact that we've got to pay attention to the mental health of our children. We've got to continue to work with and take away that stigma. If you have a broken, I used to say this all the time in school, if you have a broken arm, you go to the doctor. If there's something broken up here and you don't feel well in your brain, in your mind, it's okay to go get help. And I think that's something we must continue to emphasize and continue to work with our young adults and with our children, because unfortunately, too many of our babies have a sense of hopelessness. And that's why it's so important that we continue to pour into our babies and let them know that no, it's not over. There is something to look forward to.
There's another myth. There's the myth that the Roanoke City Police Department, there's a myth. They are doing everything that they are charged to do to make our community safe.
Absolutely.
It's a myth.
Absolutely.
It's a myth when anybody brings discredit on their name, because here in Roanoke, under the leadership of Chief Roman, it has been proven through his documentation, through what his department is doing, that they are making a difference according to their mission. And the myth is that people in the community should have no fear of the Roanoke City Police Department, and you should run to them for help.
Amen.
Because that is a part of the solution. That is something that is critically needed, that you must embrace the police department and help them carry out their mission. So we thank you, Chief Roman.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. You just said it. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I say just a tiny bit more? I've heard the statistic that nationwide only 25% of homes have guns. I haven't confirmed that statistic myself, but if that's true, and true in Roanoke, every home that has no guns cannot have a gun suicide easily. If we were to reduce that percentage in Roanoke, I don't know, 5%, think of the people we're saving, plus the children that get a hold of guns, teenagers. A small percentage can make a big difference. Of course, we want a big percentage too.
And that's another part of what your work is doing, to the distribution of gun locks. So vitally important, and I think too many of us here have been affected by a child that has gotten their hands on an unlocked gun and the dire consequences. So thank you for that as well. I'm glad you brought that up too, because if a home does have to have a gun in it, it should be locked. Thank you.
And I know I have to be brief and I'll stop, but I have heard from a good authority that when people take pills to commit suicide, it rarely works. It's an ineffective, well, of course it works sometimes, but when people try to commit suicide with a gun, it's final. I think that's a really interesting comparison. And Catherine's husband, who's a ER doctor.
The toxicologist seconds that, although he's not here. So.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to invite Robin Mitchell, who's with Trifecta, who's going to share with us their Junior Boss program, which works with young women. But while she's coming up and getting set up, I did want to mention that Lori Haas, who is with the John Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Research, was at our last commission meeting and shared a lot of important data with us. But one of the things that was most staggering for me to hear was that gun violence is the leading cause of death among children in the United States. Gun locks are available. The commission purchased 8,000 of these locks to be distributed through Roanoke City Public Schools. For parents of children in Roanoke City Public Schools, it's very simple. You just go to the office of the school where your child attends, ask for a gun lock, and they will give it to you. It's as simple as that. And they are available at every public school in the city of Roanoke.
Every school.
Every public school. So Robin is with Trifecta, and they received a mini grant, and they are doing some really exciting things with their Junior Boss program, collaborating with a lot of partners. So I'll turn it over to Robin.
All right.
Okay, thank you. How do you go to? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, City Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, officials. Thank you for allowing me to speak before you today. I currently serve as the Program Director for a Junior Boss program, which is a youth entrepreneurship program, currently serving our young people right here in the Roanoke Valley. The BOSS in Junior Boss, because it is an acronym, stands for Building Ourselves for Sufficiency and Success. And that's what we've been working diligently with our students over the past 8 weeks. We have been equipping them with the necessary tools to not only survive in today's world, but to thrive. So every week since early September, students have been learning the foundational building blocks of what it takes to run a business through immersive activities and by hearing from local business owners, many of whom have come from similar backgrounds and have faced some of the same challenges that our students here in the Roanoke Valley may be facing. They've heard the challenges, the wins, the life lessons, and the overall journeys of at least 10 amazing entrepreneurs. And I'm hoping and we're hoping that these lessons will follow them throughout their lives. So as we enter into week 9, we're inching towards the close of our series for the fall, but with hopes of continuing to offer this program to students throughout the Valley in the spring and beyond. So the purpose of this program is to serve as just one pathway. I know Dr. Brenda Hale mentioned earlier, hope. This program is to serve as a pathway to offer young people hope, to give them something else to look forward to. A few months ago, I was in a planning meeting for one of the subcommittees that I serve on in the community, and someone asked, do you think students in Northwest would benefit from art programs? And my answer to that was, you really never know what a student would be interested in or benefit from if they've never been exposed to it. So sometimes the first step is to offer that exposure and see where things go from there. So our program started with 2 students 8 weeks ago, and we have been blessed to touch over 20 students over the past 20 weeks, and we're hoping that we can continue to grow and reach more young people throughout the Valley. So these age ranges are anywhere from 11 years old all the way up into 18, and we've had some inquiries now from our older population, some of the 18 and older, even those who are 20, who are interested in maybe learning some things that we're teaching in Junior Boss so that they can use that to support them in their next chapter in life. So our students have shown and continue to show, studies have shown and continue to show that entrepreneurship is a pathway to reducing poverty, which in turn can reduce gun violence, as we know there is heavy correlation between the two. So last week I spoke with Christopher Roberts, Roanoke City's Youth Gang and Gun Violence Prevention Coordinator, and we are hopeful about our partnerships in the spring and more programming that we can offer, especially to that older generation of young people, especially that 18, somewhere in that 18 to 20 range, that we identify as a area that needs a lot of focus. So right now our students are preparing for a pitch competition, which will be happening in the coming weeks. And we are hopeful that we'll get some great business ideas pitched to us, and those students will be competing, the older group, to win scholarships. So we have about $3,000 worth of scholarships that we will be awarding thanks to our partnership with the city's Gun Violence Prevention Commission. So the key to our program success has been and will continue to be collaboration. We wholeheartedly believe that to truly be impactful, we do have to collaborate, combine our talents with those who align with our vision for progress. And our forward-facing vision is seeing this program spread throughout the Valley with incubators for aspiring entrepreneurs, programs, and clubs in every school that will host it. Opportunities for young adults to learn about how to start a business as well. And what I'm going to show you now is a very short recap of what we've been doing over the past 8 weeks. But I have an instrumental song on there playing, but I want to give you some insight to this song because in the lyrics it says, "You are the remedy, and you don't know what's inside, but you are the key." And I think that's very key for our young people. Sometimes they don't know that they have something inside of them that could really change the world. So just imagine if we can instill that in these young people at this age of 11 to 18 years old. And could you imagine a different Roanoke from now, 20 years from now, where some of these young people may have thriving businesses that they were able to build and start from the information that they got from our program. So that was a little bit about our program, and I will now play the video. Right. So that was my presentation. I also want to thank the admin staff at the school, Lucy Addison Middle School, the Kirk Family YMCA, Junior Achievement, Decomi Inc., all of our volunteers, facilitators, and small businesses who volunteered their time throughout the period. And we hope to continue those partnerships moving forward.
Thank you for your presentation. Let me ask you something. How much funding did you all receive?
We received the $10,000 grant funding.
And you've only been going for what, 2 months?
September was the start of our program, so we really have not utilized the majority of the funds because we're focusing right now with the middle school group. And then forwardly, the high school group will be competing in the pitch competition in the upcoming weeks. So that's where, honestly, the scholarship money is where a majority of it will go for those participating in the pitch competition.
How do you select your students?
So for our Lucy Addison program, that was a collaboration with the school social worker and the administrative staff. They referred kids to the program. And for a lot of other students that participate, especially with the older high school group, we've had collaboration conversations with Chris Roberts, and then students who may find us through social media or referred through other avenues like parents or things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I follow up?
Yeah.
And this is currently only serving Addison Middle School students?
The middle school program is currently only serving Addison, which we do know that if we're thinking about approach to gun violence, that's like the epicenter school for a lot of the activity that we're seeing in our community right now.
Is this an after-school program?
Yes, it is an after-school club. It meets every week from from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. And then we have activities coupled with the speakers who come in.
Is that once a week?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you said you're partnering with JA?
Yes, Junior Achievement has been really awesome.
Yeah.
They provide a lot of great material, and even some volunteers who we'll be engaging with as well with the program.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Junior Achievement. I had the opportunity of doing some at Westside Elementary School, and it is a phenomenal program. And just seeing it over the years, so that's good to hear that you're collaborating. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. And
right.
You're absolutely right to give these young people exposure, because too many of our babies don't really have a good understanding of what's out there,
right.
and what does it take to build a small business.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we're focusing on now is niching down, because, I mean, it's one thing to say you can come and learn how to start a business, but what if you specifically want to learn how to start a clothing brand? Or what if you want to learn how to start a mechanic business? So that was a lot that was involved in my conversation last week with Chris Roberts. How can we put this series into niche focuses where there's maybe someone who is interested in a certain sector, and we can give them targeted information for how to start a business in that sector, with facilitators who are geared and experts in that particular field. So that's where we are forward-facing. That's what we're looking forward to over the next few months. And but yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Smith.
Yeah, I just have a quick question, Ms. Mitchell. I thought I heard Mr. Cobb say it was just young ladies, but it's
Oh no,
both.
we have men as well. So
Did I hear you wrong?
I was incorrect.
Oh, okay, I was
Yes.
gonna say, I might have misheard you.
yes, we have men as well. In our beginning, in our infancy, the first couple of weeks, it was strictly only girls that signed up. But as the program progressed, we now have about 5 young men.
Yeah, I
that are
saw
current-
some on there. That's great. I was just wondering,
Yeah.
wondering if that was correct, because, yeah, that definitely engaged the males. At
Absolutely,
Addison.
and that's one of the key things that we're talking about with Chris Roberts as well, because a lot of the young men that he has that are interested in this program are over 18, which the scope of our grant was for 11 to 18-year-olds. But a lot of the young men that he has in his group are over the 18, and they are in that extreme risk population for youth gang and gun violence. So that's what we are working on addressing in the coming months.
Thank you, good work, I appreciate it.
Thank
I
you.
learned a lot. I didn't know what you all were doing. I know you were working on something I had no idea, so I'm glad we could get a chance to see it.
Thank
So I
you.
really appreciate, Mr. Cobb rotating some of the grant recipients in, because we know that there's money there, and we vote to allocate it, but we don't really see its work in progress, so this is really helpful for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all for listening today, and we look forward to continued success with the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. I wanted to say that, consistently, we've heard a lot of things from youth in the community about what they need, because we feel like it's important to center their voices in this and their experiences. And the thing that rises to the top always is we need more opportunity. So identifying what that is, and we continue to hear more about, we'd like to know how we can become entrepreneurs, how we can have access to capital, how we can learn trades. And it was nice to see the variety of different people that you brought in that do have different skill sets and different trades that they've developed. And these can be very important, not only essential services in the community, but can be very lucrative for the youth as well. I did want to ask you on the pitch program, because I think I read in something that, part of what you were trying to do with this clothing line was to address the gun violence epidemic. Could you talk a little bit about that?
One of the stipulations that we did include, or it's not necessarily a stipulation, but we will award bonus points for this, is that we asked the students who are developing the pitch for the clothing brands if they can include a component that addresses gun violence in our community. Then they would have some bonus points towards their pitch if their clothing brand that they end up pitching has some sort of component that helps us to, eradicate, this gun violence culture that we have in the community. We're giving bonus points for that. So that is one of the components that we've incorporated into the clothing brand pitch.
Thank you.
I did want to also mention, when you said about trades and just different opportunities that may be available to students. Last week, we had an entrepreneur, and then we had a pharmacist that came and spoke. And one of the reasons I invited that pharmacist is because we know entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, just like going to school or going to college or going on to get a degree is not for everybody. But it's important to let youth see different pathways so that they know you don't have to stick on one trajectory. You don't have to stick to the trajectory that somebody else may have planned out for your life, or that you feel like you have to stay in within this constraint. So all about exposing young people to more opportunities, for sure.
Thank you.
Let me ask you one other question. How do you mesh 11-year-olds with 18 and over?
So the 11, they are not in the same meeting group. That's one part of it. We can't reach them in the same group. So with our groups that are 14 to 18, they have a separate meeting group from the 11 to 14-year-olds. The 11 to 14-year-olds, even in that group, even in a middle school setting, that's the age group you're looking at, 11 to 14. But what we've seen is even in that dynamic, sometimes the 11-year-olds may be, thriving, but then we may have to refocus the 14-year-olds. So it really just depends on the group dynamic. But what I will tell you is that either side of the spectrum, we've had some amazing students who have been sponges. They've been eager to absorb this information. We have to refocus them from time to time, but I think the key was keeping that age group separate, because you're going to have different challenges for 11 to 14 versus the 14 to 18.
Okay. Ms. Sanchez on.
Thank you, sir. Are you planning to expand the program to other middle schools?
That would be the hope. As I mentioned in my report there, our hope is that we can expand Junior Boss to be served at any school that will have us, any after-school program. So, I mean, the curriculum is here. We have the curriculum. We have the facilitators who we've been utilizing on the team, and we have the volunteers and the entrepreneurs. I mean, the entrepreneur database in Roanoke City is unending. So I feel like as long as all of those foundational pieces are present, it's only a matter of let us come in and engage with your students and give them these opportunities for a better future.
Have you reached out to some other schools?
Yes, so we've been in contact with Noel C. Taylor. That one is a conversation that we are still trying to work through. And we've been in contact with William Fleming as well. So hoping to expand. I know that it will be depending on who we communicate with, because that's always the key in the city, who we communicate with. It determines whether we progress to all the schools or if we slowly make our way from school to school. So we shall see.
I will encourage you to continue reaching out to the middle schools.
Okay,
it's much
absolutely.
needed.
Thank you.
Middle schools.
Okay, absolutely.
And thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, I'd just like to mention 3 quick things that are coming up. One is this Saturday, there is a community anti-gun violence walk that's been organized by Hill Street Baptist Church and other congregations in Northwest. It will begin at Macedonia Baptist Church, 2910 Cove Road, and will end at Pilgrim Baptist Church. And the walk will begin at 8 o'clock a.m. And folks are welcome to join the walk wherever and whenever they would like to. On November 20th at 3:30 p.m., we'll have Roanoke Remembers at Patrick Henry High School. This will be an opportunity for the community to gather and share our collective grief over lives lost to gun violence and violence in general, and the trauma experienced by the community. That's at 3:30 on November 20th, which is a Sunday at Patrick Henry High School. And then TAP, Total Action for Progress, as part of their community healing series, and as violence interruption grant recipient, are presenting a workshop called How to Be a Hood Healer. And HOOD stands for Health, Optimism, Ownership, and Discipline. It will be held on December 3rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Roanoke Higher Education Center, and will be facilitated by Antonio Stovall. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking at my calendar. There's going to be some community walks going on. There'll be another community walk this week by the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity on Thursday. This Thursday coming up on the 9th. Well, got my dates wrong again. It'll be on the 10th this week. It'll be a walk from the Hotel Roanoke, to Sweet Union Church. This will be a community walk. They'll be doing that, the fraternity, to bring attention to gun violence in the community. They'll be making a walk in Northwest. More information should be coming out on that pretty soon, but I thought I'd mention that because we're doing some things in the community as it relates to gun violence, which is my #1 priority in our city. So, thank you, Mr. Carter. All right, does that conclude your presentation? All right, thank you. All right, we're going to go now, and there's some items that are recommended for action. Item number 7.1A is the acceptance and the appropriation of funds for the Roanoke Public Libraries from the Roanoke City Public Schools 21st Century Grants. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right, is that second? Is more second?
Sanchez
Okay.
Jones, I think.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you read the title paragraph, please?
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of the 21st Century Community Learning Center funding grant from the U.S. Department of Education and authorizing the execution and filing of appropriate documents to obtain such funds.
All right, any discussion by members of council? All right. Let me just say, is that a part of what well, no, I was thinking about what the school committee did to budget.
This is for 2 schools for their after school 21st century
Okay.
school programs.
Okay.
And 2 elementary schools that I love, Round Hill and Ballard Park.
Well, is there a reason for those 2 schools other than others?
These are the 2 that are just in the particular, independent.
Okay.
Yes, I love Hurt Park too.
And Lincoln Terrace?
And I love all my elementary. All elementary schools, I love them all. And
There we go. There we go.
All right, is there any more questions, discussion on that? I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye. And the resolution passes as a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you read the title paragraph, please?
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the Roanoke City School Board for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers workshops, amending or reordaining certain sections of the 2022-2023 grant funds appropriations and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, is there any discussion, members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. Thank you. Item number B, 7.1B, is acceptance of the Virginia Department of Transportation, MAP 21 RSTP, and Smart Scale Funds. Authorization to execute VDOT documents and appropriation of funds for the Orange Avenue improvements from King Street to Blue Hills Drive. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of the Virginia Department of Transportation, MAP, MAP 21, RSTP, and Smart Scale Funds, and authorizing the execution and filing of appropriate documents to obtain such funds.
All right, any discussion by members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you. All right, we have a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
An ordinance to appropriate funding, federal funding, from the Virginia Department of Transportation to the Smart Scale Orange Avenue, King and Blue Hills Improvements Project, and to de-appropriate federal funding from the Smart Scale Orange Avenue Improvements FY21 project, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2022-2023 Capital Projects Fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, any discussion by members of council? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. Item number C is the acceptance and appropriation of community-based gun violence intervention program, gun violence emergency relocation project from the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second. All right, could you read the title paragraph, Madam Clerk?
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services Community-Based Gun Violence Intervention Program, Gun Violence Emergency Relocation Project funds, and authorizing the execution and filing of appropriate documents to obtain such funds.
Any discussion from members of council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say that several weeks ago, there was a press conference announcing 3 grants that had been awarded to the city, and this was one of those grants, so this is simply the receiving of those funds. This will be implemented in collaboration with Total Action for Progress, TAP, and Family Service of Roanoke Valley, and it's modeled after an existing domestic violence relocation program. So we'll be applying the same standards to families that are affected by gun violence and need the services for relocation.
All right, how much money is this?
$200,000.
Okay, wow. There's a lot of money in here for things, that's good. All right, any further discussion by members of council? All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. All right, a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance.
Madam Clerk, can you read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services Gun Violence Emergency Relocation Project Grant, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2022 through 2024 grant fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, any discussion on this? Budget ordinance? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. All right, I'm pleased to, at this time, recognize Mr. Grill for any comments that he'd like to.
No additional comments.
All right. All right, we're in item number 2A, which is renaming of Roanoke City Jail to Roanoke City Adult Detention Center. And I'm pleased to recognize Sheriff Antonio Hash, who's here with us today. And there's one measure of resolution.
Move the resolution.
All right. Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution changing the name of the Roanoke City Jail and Jail Annex, official tax map number 1011313 and 1011309 to the Roanoke City Adult Detention Center.
All right. I'm going to call on Sheriff Hash just to talk to us. He did a lot of work on this, and he would share with us the thought process behind this.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, those of council, to Clarence Greer, acting, our deputy city manager, our clerk, our attorneys, to my staff. Thank you all for being here. So we're excited. We launched Ignite, which is residents individually growing naturally and intentionally through education. We launched this September the 6th of this year because we understood the culture of changing how we see incarceration. I'm hearing a lot of things, gun violence, and a lot of things take place at this podium today. But what we failed to realize is that those individuals are being arrested in our streets. But where are they taking them? To Roanoke City Adult Detention Center. And so we're having to deal with this same nonsense that the police chief is having to deal with on the streets. My staff, along with myself, are dealing with the nonsense every single day. And my goal with renaming this detention center, or the city jail, to a detention center, is to bring awareness about the things that we're dealing with inside our facility as well. And I encourage anyone from council to please come and take a tour, so that way those who have been there, thank you. But there's a lot that go on inside our facility. I think I'm going to start doing a monthly update for you all as well, because I think you all need to hear and see some of the changes that's going on inside our facility and some of the help that we can receive from council as well. From the Gun Violence Commission, we just received $52,000 from the state to hire a mental health specialist for our facility. But $52,000 for a person who is licensed for mental health is not a lot of money. But if we're going to be able to combat and deal with the mental health crisis at this point, we have 157 people inside of our facility on some type of mental health drug. And that's not violating the HIPAA law, because I'm not telling you who they are. But again, it's not easy dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. The resources are needed in our facility as well to make sure that we are identifying these individuals, getting them some help, so that way we don't end up on the news. And let me just say this, I have saved, along with my staff, the city of Roanoke have been on the news over the last 11 months and 7 days, because we got committed people who have stepped up to the podium, who have risen to the occasion to make sure that we are protecting the citizens of Roanoke City as well. And we may not be in the streets, we may not be seen with our weapons out in the public eye, but at 324 Campbell Avenue, it is tough working on the other side of that building. It is a jungle. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for the cameras, nor play it down. It is rough. Am I correct? Amen. It is rough. But we do it every day with a smile on our face because we are committed to the process. And one, as an elected official, I am committed to everything that I said I was going to do on the campaign trail, is to protect and serve with understanding and respect. But I need your help. If we're going to change the culture in our communities, we have to combat what's going on inside of our facility. I have allowed the city police to come in, Chris Roberts, to identify these gang individuals, because again, we are having to separate the entire facility because of the number of gang violence that they portray in the streets. They bring them inside our facility, and so we're running out of space. And when I say out of space, out of space. But again, we are committed to this process, but I need your help. Renaming the facility is allowing us to change the culture, put programs in place. But programs in place without no money don't get us far. And so I'm appreciative of that. And so today, thank you all for this opportunity. But I think with the partnership with TAP, they got the grant for $3 million to partner with them to try to get them some resources. But a lot of those resources are as they are transitioning out of the facility to where they can get them help. But the help starts inside of our house as they're sitting there before they return back, because 90% of people who come into custody return back into society. It's the 10% that return to our prisons. And so that means our citizens have to get the education that they need, the job skills, the readiness to return back into society. So renaming our facility is the first part of Roanoke City Adult Detention Center, changing their mindset. We changed the pods, we put new showers in, because DOC was on us about the showers, so we changed the showers. We changed their clothing for programs. We vet them in with Pathway to Homes to get them resources and help. So we're doing our part, but I hope that we can continue this partnership as council, and on a monthly basis, I am devoted to making sure that we get you all numbers so you all can see what's going on inside the Roanoke City Adult Detention Center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Let me ask if the cameraman can reflect your staff back there. I want them to stand, if we can, please. And if we can show us so our citizens will see your staff. I don't think it's... Okay. All right, thank you.
And if you don't mind me saying, the state, they're changing the code for uniforms. So a lot of people are asking why they saying the black uniforms. As the code is changing, where they're doing away with the brown. That's why you see us bringing the black uniforms into place. And to make it clear, we did a traffic stop the other day, and someone said to one of our deputies, "You don't have the authority to stop me." And I make it clear again on the record, your sheriff is the authority, and my deputies have the authority to stop any moving violation in the city of Roanoke that's wrong. If you run a light in front of our deputies, they will stop you. So I'm just making it clear so that everybody know, all right? Thank you. Any questions for me from council?
Ms. Bestridge.
Well, I thank you especially for throwing that last part in there, Sheriff Hash, because I can't get over how the speeding on the streets of Roanoke seems to be getting worse and worse all the time. I mean, people just act like it's such a hurry.
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping that we can get some people to slow down and prevent some serious accidents from happening. But I wanted to mention, you mentioned a number of issues that you deal with, and I wanted to hone in a little bit more on one of the issues, and that is the people that come into your care and treatment with substance abuse disorders.
Yes, sir.
Opioid use disorder and so forth. And I mentioned to you the other day when we saw each other that I really commend you to read Beth Macy's new book,
Yes, sir.
Raising Lazarus, and especially the parts about what Fairfax County is doing with their detention center up there. I think they've set a model for what can be done here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, because, getting medical-assisted treatment started for people who haven't had it yet can go a long way to when they come back out into the community, as you said. They can continue receiving the medication that they need to deal with this addiction problems that they have. And so I really appreciate what you've done. Changing the shower sounds like such a simple thing, but what a difference.
That's a DOC.
What a difference.
Yes, sir.
Those kinds of things can make.
Yes, sir.
And I really appreciate everything that you've done to bring a whole new mindset to what happens in your facility.
And I appreciate you. So with the American Disability Act, it says that a person who is receiving type of assistance when it comes down to the opioids, any other drug that they're on, if they're receiving that assistance prior to coming into our facility, we have a requirement that we have to continue this assistance when they come into our custody. And so with NAFCare, our medical contractors that's in our building now,
Right.
we have a press release that we're working on now to make the community aware that we are continuing this care because it's a requirement. And whenever you get this mandate that you have to continue, it's not that you can continue, but say you shall continue this service. And so I commend our medical team for continuing this service and helping us to be in compliance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there may be some who need to be on it who haven't started yet, and maybe that can be their start.
So we have 2 steps, and so we got the press release that's coming out, and so you'll see it, but it is a multifaceted system that we're working on to put the information back out into the community, but the press release should be coming out. I don't want to talk too fast, or my PIO get me, but she keep me in line, but there's some information that's about to hit, so you'll see it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Vice
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sheriff, I just want to say thank you so much, and I certainly commend your staff and everything that you all do. It is truly a multifaceted event you got going over there, or facility you have running now, because we realize that there's a lot going on, and I appreciate the fact that you want to come to us on a monthly basis, because not only does it educate council, but it educates our community as well, because you have people you have to regulate who come in there with high blood pressure. You have to get them regulated. Diabetes, you have to get them regulated, just like a hospital, so your hospital, you're separating gangs, you're working with the mental, the ones who have mental health issues. So I know it's a lot, and so I'm glad that you're willing to come forward every month to give us an update, because that's, making us aware of what's going on and some of the challenges that you're experiencing will give us the tools that we need to figure out how to help facilitate that, basically, is what I'm saying. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Well, I want to say this. I can't believe if I'm stopped, the first thing I'm going to tell the person, you don't have the authority to stop me. That's the last thing that's going to come out of my mouth when you see that. Boy. Are there any other discussion for members of council? All right, well, we're ready to vote on the Roanoke City Adult Detention Center. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the resolution passes. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. You can have your seat back there. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're next down to item B, which is the amendment of the City Code, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1 through 14, working of prisoners generally, to reflect the new name of the Roanoke City Jail. There's an ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance amending and reordaining Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1-14, Working of Prisoners Generally, Code of the City of Roanoke as amended, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, any discussion by members of council?
Well, I'd kind of like, to know exactly what that means, the working of prisoners.
Can you?
I don't know who would be able to answer that. It's a code change, but I wasn't able to click on it because my iPad's not working. I got my cell phone I'm using. So and maybe somebody else, maybe our residents would want to hear it too as well. Does anybody know what that means?
Yes.
Well, certainly, Vice Mayor White Boyd, we want to amend Section 114 to make substitute the name of the city jail have the adult detention center in place of the city jail, consistent with the mission of the sheriff's office, and particularly in connection with the Our Ignite program. I invite Sheriff Hash to further elaborate and explain.
Mr. Cobb's going to let me see it. I just couldn't click on it. Just taking
out city jail and putting it in detention center.
oh, that's just that one word. Okay. Because when they said working of prisoners, I didn't know what that meant. It's just taking out one word.
It's the language.
It's the language. Yes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Thank you. Item number C is the naming of the city-owned plaza located at 26 Salem Avenue Southeast. The official tax map, number 4010118, the John Nolan Plaza. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution naming the city-owned plaza located at 26 Salem Avenue Southeast, official tax map number 4010118, the John Nolan Plaza.
Okay. Any discussion? Members of the council, Mr. Bestfitch.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think for a lot of us, a lot of residents throughout the valley, this little patch of green space down there is probably best known as the site of our annual Christmas tree lighting and celebration. When I came to Roanoke in 1990, this was referred to as Cardinal Plaza, if you remember Cardinal Bank. that was here a long time ago. Then it became First Union Plaza, then Wachovia Plaza, and now it's Wells Fargo Plaza. And it just made sense to me not to just keep calling the plaza by whatever happened to be in the building next door to it, but to give the plaza a name and to recognize the work of John Nolan. And I won't read the whole resolution here, but I did want to commend to you as well a thesis that was written by Emily B. Harmon as part of her requirements for a master's degree in history at Virginia Tech in 2018. She titled it "Shaping the City from Below, Urban Planning and Citizens' Battle for Control in Roanoke, Virginia, 1907 to 1928. A couple of really interesting parts about this thesis. Again, as I say, I hope you read it, but there was a group of women in 1907 who decided that the city needed to be cleaned up. And they thought the skills that they had learned in house cleaning could be also applied to cleaning the city, quite literally. And they called themselves the Women's Civic Betterment Club. And they raised the money to hire John Nolan because they were concerned about having safe water. They were concerned about the milk supply not always being safe. They were concerned about sanitation in the city. And John Nolan really got his start and became known as one of the fathers of city planning because he came to Roanoke in 1907. Unfortunately, the gentlemen who were city leaders at that time on the council and in the city administration didn't pay a lot of attention. But those determined women found ways to get a lot of the things that he had suggested implemented. So by 1928, those men had decided that maybe those ladies knew something that they should listen to, and they engaged, at the city's expense, they engaged Mr. Nolan to come back and upgrade it. And the other thing that I find of particular interest is that Mr. Nolan made quite a point in his plans that anything that was done in one neighborhood should be done in all neighborhoods, and that the neighborhoods where African Americans lived should get the same streets, the same curb and gutter, the same sidewalks, the same everything that any other neighborhood got. And again, that was not followed as well as it should have been in those days, but he was really in the forefront of advocating for equity and equality throughout all of the neighborhoods in the city of Roanoke. So I'll tell you what, I'll forward that to all of you. The thesis is very interesting reading, and it kind of, you know, you don't think about sending children to school these days and being worried about whether the water fountain has clean water in it or not. You don't think about worrying about whether the milk they're going to get is good for them or whether it's going to make them sick. But in 1907, those were some of the concerns that people had to deal with, and it does make for some very interesting reading. So I'll forward that to everybody, and you'll get a chance to look at it.
I knew our resident historian had the backstory.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Any other comments regarding the John Nolan Plaza? All right, hearing no more comments, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye. And the resolution passes. Okay, all right, we're now down to item number 8, which is report of committees. We have none. Number 9, unfinished business, none. Introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolution. A resolution designating a voting delegate and an alternative voting delegate for the annual NLC City Summit Business Meeting to be held on Saturday, November 19, 2022 in Kansas City, Missouri. All right, there is a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph with the names of those chosen.
A resolution designating a voting delegate and an alternate voting delegate for the annual business meeting of the NLC City Summit. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Roanoke as follows. The Honorable Patricia White Boyd, Vice Mayor, is hereby designated voting delegate on behalf of the City of Roanoke, Virginia, for the business meeting for the annual NLC City Summit to be held on Saturday, November 19th, 2022 in Kansas City, Missouri. Number 2, the Honorable Vivian Sanchez Jones, Council Member, is hereby designated alternate voting delegate on behalf of the City of Roanoke, Virginia, for the business meeting for the annual NLC City Summit to be held on Saturday, November 19th, 2022 in Kansas City, Missouri.
All right, any discussion by members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Price? Aye. Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes, and we appreciate the Vice Mayor and Councilwoman Sanchez Jones and volunteering to do this. We appreciate that.
Volunteering or voluntold?
Same thing.
Mayor Lee says same thing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, item number 11, inquiries and comments by the mayor and members of city council. Anybody have anything that they want to make notice of?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Cobb.
Ms. Cobb?
Just an update on the Transit Center. We're moving into Phase 2. The Transit Center building will be open, and the waiting area, the desk where you can get, purchase fare and all of that information. Starting November 14th, there will be a shift in where the buses line up. So there will be 10 buses that line up on the north side of the new building under the first canopy, and then 6 buses will line up along Salem Avenue. And that will be in place. The temporary trailers will be removed so that they can finish completion of the second canopy section. So progress is being made. It continues to be ahead of schedule, but I wanted to make sure citizens know of that change. They'll still be able to catch all of their buses there, but the configuration will be a little different starting November 14th, Monday the 14th.
Thank you.
Mr. Bestfitch, I'm sorry. Mr. Bestfitch.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm sure we all heard about the tragic accident that happened in South Korea on the Halloween weekend, where people were trying to exit through a narrow passageway, and some stumbled and fell, and then others stampeded over them. A number of people lost their lives. On behalf of Roanoke Valley Sister Cities, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for very promptly sending a letter of condolence to the mayor of Wonju, our sister city there in Korea. Even though the accident didn't happen in that city, it certainly had a great impact on people throughout the Republic of South Korea. So your letter to Mayor Won Gang-ju on October 31, just 2 days after the event happened, I know they appreciate it very much, and Roanoke Valley Sister Cities appreciates very much your making that good connection with our friends in Wonju. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, and thank you for keeping us advised of those issues as they come up. Does somebody down there have a comment? Raise your hand. I heard a lot of noise down here, so. Okay.
It's on the other side.
You got a comment now?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind our friends and residents that tomorrow is Election Day, and if you have not voted, please execute your right to vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And you can register tomorrow.
That is
You can
correct.
register tomorrow, and you can at least fill out a provisional ballot.
Provisional ballot, that is
You
correct,
can do
Mr.
that,
Mayor.
so don't worry about the fact that if you haven't registered, you can do that now on the day you vote.
Yes, I commend the state of Virginia for making it easy for us to vote. Anybody who wants to vote can vote. So I appreciate our legislators in Richmond who decided to make it easy, the right thing to do, make it easy for our residents to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Yes, and I just would like to add that tomorrow, transportation, if you take the Valley Metro, is free.
That's right.
Yes, so take advantage of a free day to go vote.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Thank you.
You, all right?
I think that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody
Thank you.
else? All right. Let's go to item number 2, the vacancies on certain authorities, boards, commissions, and committees appointed by the council. And I'm gonna call on Councilman Best Pitch. Oh, we got, well, do we have to, well, that's not the order I have on my script here.
They need to switch it.
Well, we need to do the certification.
I'll do that.
All right, I need a motion.
I move with respect to any closed meeting just concluded that each member of City Council in attendance certify to the best of his or her knowledge that, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in any motion by which any closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered by members of council in attendance.
All right.
Need a
Is
second?
there a second?
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Best Pitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye. Thank you for the motion and the second of our closed meeting. Now we want to go and announce the appointments and reappointments, and I'll ask Councilman Best Pitch to please share that information with us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for my final opportunity to place names in nomination for these positions. For the Blue Ridge Behavioral Health Care Board of Directors, Mr. Edward Garner, for a reappointment to another 3-year term beginning January 1, 2023. For the Board of Zoning Appeals, Christopher Miller, to fill out the unexpired term ending December 31, 2022, and a 3-year term beginning January 1, 2023. For the Building and Fire Code Board of Appeals, to fill one of the architect positions on that board, the nominee for a 3-year term is Robert Pilkington, and we'll need to waive the residency requirement for Mr. Pilkington. For the City Planning Commission, the reappointment of Frank C. Martin III and Pamela Smith for 4-year terms of office, and a new appointment of Kevin Berry for that Planning Commission. For the Economic Development Authority, 4-year terms of office for Tomiko Franco and Kermit Kit Hale. For the Equity Empowerment Advisory Board, we appointed Caitlin Johnson. She has not been able to maintain her residence in the city, so we need to waive the residency requirement for Ms. Johnson. For the Human Services Advisory Board, a 4-year term, an unexpired term ending November 30, 2024. The nominee is Bethany Lackey, and then reappointment for another 4-year term of Lakevia Sinkford for the Human Services Advisory Board. For the Roanoke Neighborhood Advocates, for an unexpired term ending September 30, 2023, the nominee is Tony Williams. For the Towing Advisory Board, the reappointment of Walter Hinckley for another 3-year term with waiver of the residency requirement. For the to fill an unexpired term of office ending June 30, 2024 on the Youth Services Citizens Board, the nominee is Jeffrey Powell. And for the student appointments representing William Fleming High School, the students are Jaden Rhodes and Kevin McNeil. And that is all the appointments that we have for today, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bestfitch. I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll on those appointments and reappointments. And if you are in favor, please vote by saying all nominees. And we'll follow that line of communication. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Price?
All nominees.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
All nominees.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
All nominees.
Mr. Bestfitch?
All nominees.
Mr. Cobb?
All nominees.
And Mayor Lee.
All nominees. Thank you. All right, if there is no further business to come before this council, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.